Let's look in detail at why the South China Sea is so disputed. Our data and forensics correspondent Tom Cheshire is here with me now. And Tom, I mean, you and I have discussed this. China has been militarizing the South China Sea since the early 2000s, but this is a complicated situation.
Yeah, I mean, it might seem sort of cut and dry from that reporting, which is so vivid, but when you look at the sea, you look at the map of who owns what around it, this is at its most simple. You've got the countries here, you've got their, this is their territorial waters. So that's 12 nautical miles out. Everyone agrees that's their water. People shouldn't go through it. It gets a bit complicated with Taiwan, but for this purpose, that's fine. What gets more tricky is when you add the economic zones. So these extend out 200 nautical miles. And you can see this coming out. So it comes out from Vietnam, here from the Philippines, and they start to intersect. Things start to get a bit tricky. So that's already messy. It's starting to look messy on that map. There's one more thing we're going to show you on top of this, and that's when it gets even more complicated, what we've been talking about. This is the 9-dash line. And that's China saying, well, actually, all of this, 90% of that sea is actually ours. So you can, do what you like with that.
Yeah, I mean, extraordinary. Whenever I look at this 9-dash line, my mind is blown because you can see the Philippines hasn't even been left parts of it with a beach. But as Nicole was saying there, an international tribunal has deemed this 9-dash line as punches holes in it.
Yeah, there's no legal basis for this entire. Of course, we're hearing how strongly China rejects that. But all the while, a lot of this is China's not abiding by that resolution, that arbitration, even though it's signed up to these rules and other countries haven't. Right is might. And what it's been doing in the meantime, as you mentioned, is transforming the landscape of this. So this was fiery cross reefs. This is controlled by China. Not much going on in May 2014. Look at it now. You've got a runway here. You've got huge infrastructure, barracks basically going along. Crucially, you've got radars up here. You've also got the potential for anti-ship missiles. So this becomes, very prickly, very bristly. It means that they can project power in here. Now, they're not the only ones doing this. They have done much more than anyone else, it is fair to say. But if you look at what the Philippines are doing, this is a Philippine island. May 2013 is actually in pretty bad nick compared to some of the Chinese examples. This is what it looks like now. Again, probably not quite as far there, May 2022. Now, this is their only island with a runway, so I don't want to suggest that it is an equal balance of forces at the moment. But they say they're going to reinforce these islands because of China's actions here. They're starting to do that. But yeah, China does have the overwhelming it's dug out more than 3,000 acres of reclaimed land in the sea to try and make them fortifications.
And then, of course, throw in the complication of the United States and all the bases they have in the region. Yeah,
and I think that is fair. If we look at the last map here, if you think back to that dash line, you're like, okay, well, fine, we can raise an eyebrow at that, and, the arbitration report has raised an eyebrow. But this is real, and this is US bases. So this is where the US in yellow has an enduring presence. Red is where they rotate troops in, and we're seeing a lot more of that as a result, they would argue, of China's actions. But China would say, well, look, we are completely hemmed in here. This is our territory. We want to project power regionally. And that's why it's happening. They feel like the US, and they've said this, the US is the one militarizing the South China Sea, not them.
OK, Tom, always fascinating seeing your graphics and maps there. Thanks so much.